Know someone in your life celebrating a birthday? They deserve to feel truly celebrated. That's what 1-800-Flowers has helped people do for 50 years, turning everyday gestures into meaningful moments of connection. And this April, during their 50th birthday celebration event, when you buy one bouquet, get a second bouquet 50% off. Celebrate more birthdays with our 50th birthday event all April long at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. Buy one bouquet, get a second bouquet 50% off at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. Across the United States, the phone number is 877-973-7425. You can text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Get the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, everything you need to stay in touch with the show. Follow me on social media. If you're in Georgia, you want to hear my interview with Rick Jackson, who's running for governor, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Click the very first link. You'll be able to get into the Substack. You don't need a subscription. We made it available to everybody. You can also go to WSBradio.com. It's the third hour of my podcast on the WSB Radio website. Look for their podcast tab. I'll be doing Brad Raffensperger. I will be doing Chris Carr and Burt Jones as well, all those interviews. Now, I want you to know this just hit the wire for those of you in Georgia. Rick Jackson, the gubernatorial candidate who I interviewed yesterday, is calling for an immediate special session to redraw lines, saying, quote, "There's no time to waste. Georgia must act now to ensure secure elections in Georgia and counter the Democrats' national assault on our elections." That can't happen. Now, he's not a lawyer. He wouldn't know this, but there is a Supreme Court decision, as I mentioned in the last hour. And you, those of you who let me just break this down for you. So, yes, the Supreme Court today said that congressional districts drawn specifically for racial purposes are unconstitutional. The only exception to that is that if a district has been drawn to dilute minority voting participation, intentionally done to deprive Black voters or Hispanic voters of their representation, then you can correct that with a racially drawn district. That's the only exception. But if you're just drawing districts, you can't look at race. You cannot make racially drawn districts. The case is from Louisiana, where a judge ordered Louisiana specifically to draw a racial district to boost minority representation in Congress. Supreme Court said you cannot do that. There are districts across the South that were designed to boost racial representation of minorities in Congress. They weren't designed as corrective fixes. They were designed for the sole purpose of creating majority-minority districts, and the Supreme Court says that is unconstitutional. The Republicans could pick up 10 to 15 seats in the South based on today's case. However, and this is to gubernatorial candidate Rick Jackson and others who, they're not lawyers, they don't understand this, but there is a Supreme Court decision called Purcell versus Gonzalez. It's from 2006. And that case says that if an election is underway, you cannot change the rules or districts. You've got to understand that. That is very, very important for you to understand as we move forward in this situation. A lot of voters and candidates are going to say, okay, the Supreme Court says we get to do these redistricting patterns. You can't. You can't do it because your election's underway. States like Florida can. States like Tennessee can because their elections aren't until August. But in Georgia, the primary election is in 3 weeks. Early voting has already started, so it would be unconstitutional for Georgia to try to redistrict now. It would be unconstitutional for Mississippi, which already had its primary. It would be unconstitutional for South Carolina, whose primary comes up in the beginning of June. It would be unconstitutional for Alabama, whose primary comes up May 19th along with Georgia's. But for 2026, you'll be able to do that. Now, that is not what I want to talk about. I got something else I want to talk about, and I'm going to need your attention on this. I want to go back in time to when I first started on radio. There was an incident actually caused me a lot of hate. I had driven from my class at Reformed Theological Seminary down to do my show in Atlanta, and two stories happened that day. One was the Charlie Hebdo mass murder in Paris. The other was the firing of the Atlanta fire chief. They happened on the same day. Kelvin Cochran was the Atlanta fire chief who years before had written a book for his Sunday school class. Who Told You You Were Naked was the name of the book. And a lesbian fire captain, because of course it was a lesbian fire captain, complained because in the book, the chief of fire for Atlanta, who had been given permission by the city to write the book and to have it published, said that homosexuality is a sin and gay marriage is a sin. And gay rights activists flooded City Hall when this came out years after he had written the book. They demanded that he be fired, and he was fired. And so I started my show that night talking about how the terrorists sowing fear and destruction and it decided to destroy to take lives, destroy lives, to ruin families. People thought I was talking about Charlie Hebdo, and I said, and they stormed into the Atlanta City Council meeting and demanded that the fire chief be fired. And boy, people got mad. But I made my point. The terrorists, the secular terrorists, all behave the same. Now, you can say that Islam is not secular, and you're right, but it's something of the world. The things of the world stick together. In Paris, France, Charlie Hebdo was their magazine that was known for great comedy, parody, and sarcasm and wit. And to defy the Islamic radicals of France, who were becoming increasingly censorious, the editors of Charlie Hebdo printed a publication with cartoon depictions of the Prophet Muhammad. And Islamic radicals stormed their building and murdered the employees. And by the way, you know, they won. Ever since, the surviving employees of Charlie Hebdo have refused to even touch Islam. The terrorists won. I've mentioned before the comedian Jimmy Carr. He does some very, very offensive Christian jokes. It gets very awkward on stage when he does it. You can actually see it on Netflix. The crowd doesn't. The crowd is groaning at his jokes about Mary and Joseph in bed. Which name does she call out? The old boyfriend or the name of her son? You can get the sentiment of the joke. It's very awkward. It's not funny for Christians. It's uncomfortable for Christians. So then he says, do you want to hear my Muslim jokes? And everyone laughs. He says, I don't have any. They'd bomb. And then when the crowd laughs, he says, I mean, seriously, if I tell jokes about Muslims, they'll kill me. If I tell jokes about Christians, what's the worst you'll do? Forgive me? Difference of religion. The secularists are all unforgiving. The things of the world are very unforgiving. The Democrats have reached their Charlie Hebdo moment. I have a piece in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution today. My hometown newspaper, I have a column there. I'm one of their new conservative columnists. And I have to be real honest with you. I wasn't sure that they would be okay with my column. I wasn't sure if they would. But they were very okay with it. And for those of you who live in the metro Atlanta area and you're like, well, they're woke, they may be, but they published my piece. And they did very little change to my piece. And the headline is Progressives Virtue Signal on Political Violence. Take a look in the mirror. I know Donald Trump is capable of stirring people to angry actions. You can highlight January 6, 2021. I can highlight my family story. After I declared I couldn't support Trump in 2016, men showed up at my home to threaten my family. My son got shoved into the dirt on the playground. My daughter received a guide on how to kill herself from her classmates. My wife announced she had stage 4 cancer with 2 years to live to her Bible study, and a woman in the class said she'd pray but wanted to hit me. My children were chased through a store by a man yelling at them that their father was destroying the country by not supporting Trump. I know what Trump is capable of. The problem is progressives do not seem to appreciate what they themselves are capable of. It was not just immigrants who tore down posters of Israeli hostages after October 7th. White progressives tore them down, too. Heather Cox Richardson, the most widely read Substack writer on the planet and a history professor at Boston College, told her 2.9 million subscribers Charlie Kirk got assassinated by someone from the right. Majid Padelin, a prominent progressive social media influencer with over 1 million followers, posted after the latest attempt on Twitter's life, quote, "A lot of people are saying they think the White House correspondent shooting was staged as a way to change the narrative from his abysmal approval ratings and his bumbling on the Iraq War. What do you think, staged or not staged?" The suggestion the event was staged spread across Blue Sky, the left's alternative to Twitter. Likewise, progressive voices have speculated that Butler, Pennsylvania's assassination attempt was staged. What I write will fall on deaf ears. Progressives can only see themselves as virtuous. Pictures of Israeli hostages must be torn down lest anyone wonder why progressives might march for the interests of Hamas right after October 7th. Charlie Kirk's assassination must be right-coded because progressives cannot fathom one of their own would murder a man for his political views. The same is true for multiple attempts on Donald Trump's life. 2 days after Cole Allen, a California progressive, attempted to kill Donald Trump and others at the April 25th White House Correspondents' Dinner, Manu Raju on CNN did a both sides segment highlighting 10 acts of political violence. The problem is, disproportionately, they were acts from the left, and he even left out the attempted assassination of Brett Kavanaugh. The reality is very problematic. This is the problem for progressives in America. The Democratic Party is having its Charlie Hebdo moment. Democratic strategists and politicians privately recognize that the bullets are disproportionately coming from left-wing activists now. The assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of Russell Vought, the attempted assassination of Brett Kavanaugh, the attempted assassination of Lee Zeldin, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in Palm Beach, Florida, the attempted assassination of Donald Trump at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, the breach of Mar-a-Lago by a progressive activist wanting to kill the president and his wife. Did you remember that one? I had forgotten about that one. That happened too. The attempted assassination of Josh Shapiro and his family by a progressive anti-Israel activist in Pennsylvania. The list goes on and on and on. The bullets and the violence are coming disproportionately from the left. The left can say it's both sides. The left can say Donald Trump is stirring people to hate. The left can say the violent rhetoric is disproportionately coming from the right. And while I could disagree with them, they could make the argument. What they cannot deny is that the body count is increasing on the left. They're targeting more and more Republicans more and more violently, from Charlie Kirk to Donald Trump to Brett Kavanaugh to Russ Vought to Lee Zeldin and more. It is the left firing the bullets and taking the shots and bringing the knives. And Democratic politicians can't speak up about it because privately they're worried the bullets will come for them too. It's the Charlie Hebdo moment. If a Muslim activist stands up and denounces what happened to the editors of Charlie Hebdo being murdered for drawing a picture of Muhammad, they would die too. That's why you don't see Muslims standing up condemning anti-Muslim violence. There are plenty of Muslims who condemn it, but they know they're next, so they don't speak up. The violence serves the purpose of censoring those who would call it out. It's why you must, more importantly, stand up. Barney Frank is a progressive member of Congress. Barney Frank is actually a not nice person. I was on Bill Maher's show on HBO with him one time, and I was actually a fan of Barney Frank for one of his quotes. He's as far left as I am far right. Barney Frank was tied to a male prostitution ring in Washington, D.C., the first openly gay member of Congress. Not a very nice person. And in fact, I was cautioned on Bill Maher's show, you don't want to go meet Barney Frank. He's not a nice guy. Barney Frank is dying. his quote that I love, and I wanted to talk to him about it. Barney Frank has a quote that I adore. His quote is, "Be on the left or be on the right. At least you'll stand for something. Moderates stand for nothing." And he's right. Barney Frank was a progressive. I am a conservative. But Barney Frank is dying. He has congestive heart failure. He's been moved to hospice. And now that he's dying, Barney Frank is writing a book as a progressive, the first gay member of Congress, the man who supported and agitated for gay marriage, among other things. And he's writing a book telling Democrats, you got to stand up to the left, that they've gone too far. They've gone off the deep end. But he's waited until he's on the verge of death to write this book. Oh, I've talked to Democratic politicians. I've talked to Democratic strategists. They know what's going on. They're scared. They do see the bullets, and they know where the bullets are headed, but they're not going to go on TV and call out the progressives. They're scared of the progressives. They've had their Charlie Hebdo moment. The Democratic Party elite understand that if they come out tomorrow and say, you know what, it's true, our side has turned more violent than the other side, they're going to be in the line of fire, and they're too scared to speak up. They're leaving it to a dying man who is now in hospice to write a book telling them to stand up and fight, knowing none of them are going to do it. They saw what happened to Charlie Hebdo. They see what happens when you defy the left. The destruction of your career, the destruction of your livelihood, the destruction of your family, the bullets headed your way. The Democrats are scared of their base. We in Iran have a tiger by the tail. We haven't defanged it. We haven't declawed it. The Democrats, their head is in the tiger's mouth of the progressive left. They know they can't do anything. And the media won't do anything either because they're part of the problem. Welcome back. It is Eric Erickson here. Those of you on the phones, be real patient with me. I went long in the last segment, so I've only got about a minute here. But a minute is long enough to tell you that the Kevin Wash nomination is expected to go ahead in the U.S. Senate. He will be confirmed. He has the votes to be the next Federal Reserve chairman because the White House announced the Department of Justice would be canceling their investigation into Jerome Powell, which was widely seen by even critics of Jerome Powell as a pressure tactic to try to force Powell out of the Federal Reserve. What it did, in fact, was double down. Powell says he's not going anywhere now. He's going to stay at the Federal Reserve. His term as chairman may be over, but his term on the board is not. But now Kevin Wash can get confirmed. So there you have it. All right. I got to tell you guys about Renai. I've gotten questions on this, and let me just be very clear for you on the Renai rebate. They are, man, I love y'all. I adore my advertisers. I cannot express to you how much I love the tankless water heater from Renai. I hope to one day be able to build a new house and like have a custom house. My buddy Vince built it, and the Renai it's a no-brainer. We will put one in the new house. You can put one in your house, and Renai is going to give you a $500 rebate. You have to be a homeowner putting this in your house. You have to purchase and install by June 30th. Now, you got to follow me for what you do. There's a website, talkingtankless.com. They set it up for me, talkingtankless.com. If you go to talkingtankless.com, you'll see a rebate button. You click the button, and it'll ask you for your name and your information, your address. You put it in, and then it'll take you to a rebate page. You'll find the Eric Erickson rebate. You click it, and it'll ask you for a code, and the code is my first name, Eric, E-R-I-C-K. So you find the Eric Erickson rebate, and then it asks you for my first name, Eric, and you will get a $500 rebate on a Renai tankless water heater for your home. You got to purchase and install by June 30th. You want to take advantage of this. You can even find a plumber on the website, talkingtankless.com. You will not regret this. Hello, America. It is Eric Erickson here. I am delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425 to Stillwater, Oklahoma. We're going to Rob. Welcome, sir. How are you?
Hey, Eric. Got a couple of comments and a question. Hey, I think we should get government funding from conservative radio like NPR, and so you guys don't have to advertise. We could hear more of you.
But would I have to talk like this to get the advertising dollar?
Probably not. But, you know, Eric, it's sad and funny at the same time that religion, which is supposed to be a good, kind thing, regardless of what you believe, causes death and wars and hatred. It just has always amazed me. And the Democrats honestly, the ones you hear, congressmen, they're just idiots. And I think the devil has released all of his demons, and he's looking for more, and there's plenty of them out there from what we see. But I just broke for lunch and was listening. I had to call in. But, common sense. I mean, if Hollywood can come up with a way to kill politicians or try to take over the White House, which they've done in some of those movies, what if some of these crazy people, I don't know, Iranians or Muslims or whatever, get more than one person? What if 10 or 15 of them got police vests or ice vests on and rushed that hotel?
Yeah, okay.
At the same,
so,
Rob, there have been a lot of deaths.
You say this, but multiple people who were there said, given the chaos of it, that had there been an orchestrated effort of well-armed people to storm into that ballroom, they probably could have gotten in and caused some casualties. Given what happened and the poor aim of the Secret Service agents, among other things, there are some real security breakdowns that happen. And you're right. And what we should really be concerned about, in fact, what a number of members of Congress have been concerned about, is that you had the 5 people in the chain of leadership after the president there. So you had the president, you had the vice president, you had the Speaker of the House, the president pro tem of the Senate, Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Defense were all in the room. And that's the line of succession right there. Taking out all 6 of them was possible that night. Turning the presidency over to Scott Bessent, the Secretary of the Treasury, God forbid, the worst have happened.
Well, Eric, where is the common sense? It's just like the butler. I mean, look at Charlie Kirk. I mean, if they're getting his organization alone, getting all these death threats and everything else, why in the heck? I mean, you go to a football game here in Stillwater, we've got snipers on the roof of our deal over the football game. Why wasn't there people on a roof at the highest point looking for people? I just don't understand what the common sense is.
Listen, the common sense is in Stillwater, Rob. It's not in D.C., that's for sure. But yeah. So I mean, the ballroom and everything else, they've done this for so many times. So they let their guard down. They do this event every year. They let their guard down, and they're going to have to do this. I mean, Rob, just listen. I am in large sense a nobody, and when I travel in Atlanta, generally I got to have security these days. When I have to go through a private terminal at the Atlanta airport, I got to win the lottery at some point to buy land. I literally have people who drive past my house because I'm not in a gated neighborhood. I literally have people who drive past my house. I can't afford to buy land to go build a house. It's just I got to deal with it, and we've all got to rethink this. It's a sad thing.
Sad thing. Now Charlie Kirk is dead, and it could have been prevented so simply by having a little bit more common sense security people there. That just tears me up. He was such a great person.
And Rob, I got to tell you, and I appreciate the phone call. I to your other point, and I know you were making somewhat of a joke, but you're serious too. Evil is on the march, and you all know it's true. Eschatology is the study of the end times. This is, I'm not doing deep dive theology. Those of you who it turns off, just bear with me here. Eschatology is the study of the end times. If you read books that were written in 1910 about the end times and what it would look like, it would be everyone was going to have mass conversions. It was all going to be a happy place. We were headed towards utopia. And then World War I hit. You read books about the end times that were written World War I, World War II, in between or just after as the Cold War started, and it was the world's going to hell in a handbasket. It's the eschatology, the when people talk about the end times, it is the only area of theology that people view through a contemporary lens. That's it. The only area. We view the future based on the present. We view how it's going to end based on the present. So you got to be real careful. But Scripture does say there are signs. People wanting their ears tickled, wars and rumors of wars, birth pangs, earthquakes, volcanoes. Listen. Here's my personal theory. This is not biblical. This is Eric Erickson. Don't bind yourself to what I'm saying here. But theologically, we divide the world into 2,000-year periods. 2,000 years from Adam and Eve to Abraham. 2,000 years from Abraham to Christ. We're rapidly headed up against this towards the end of this 2,000-year period. So second coming happening sometime in the next few hundred years, probably. I think if we get out another 1,000 years from now and it hadn't happened, there are going to be very few people left who believe in it. You have these 2,000-year waves. But the larger point is this. Something is rotting people's souls. And it's, by the way, it is a spiritual problem. We don't have political problems in this country that are not tied to the underlying spiritual problem of this country. People on both sides have given up hope. They're looking for political saviors to spiritual problems. They say that they are Christians and they never darken the door of a church. They go to churches that espouse weak and bad theology that hurts them in hard times. I was talking to Frank Sillers yesterday, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, and I'm just very struck by this sermon. So there's a great pastor, theologian. He's a friend of mine. My favorite seminary professor, his name is Derek Thomas, D-E-R-E-K, Derek Thomas. He's from Wales. He's written a great book on Job. If you're ever going through hard times, you get this book on Job by Derek Thomas, and you read it. I've given copies of that book to people going through hard times. And you know, one of his points, frankly, is we don't know. All things, Scripture says, Romans 8, this was his sermon in our church a couple weeks ago, all things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. It's a very famous scriptural passage, and it is oftentimes taken out of context, severely taken out of context. Romans 8 is a powerful chapter of the Bible. In fact, as he said, if you had 2 minutes left to live and you wanted a chapter of the Bible read to you, which one do you want it? Which chapter of the Bible do you want? Romans 8 is the chapter you want. What then shall we say of these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? He who does not spare his own son, but gave him up for us all, how will he not also with him graciously give us all things? Who shall bring charge against God's elect? It is God who justifies. Who is to condemn? Christ Jesus is the one who died. More than that, we who was raised, who is at the right hand of God, who indeed intercedes for us. No, in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. For I am sure that neither death, nor life, nor angels, nor rulers, nor things present, nor things to come, nor powers, nor heights, nor depths, nor anything else in all creation will separate us from God. But the super famous passage starts at verse 28. And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. For those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn among many brothers. So Derek Thomas's point is, we know all things work for the good of those who are called according to his purpose. How is your baby born dead working for God's purpose? How is your terminal cancer working for good? How is your child killed in a car wreck working for good? How is this horrible thing that happened working for good? A listener friend of mine, I'll leave his name out of it, but I'll just tell you, he just texted me and said to keep his wife in prayer. She fell roller skating. She's broken 3 ribs and her jaw. She has a tube in her side to release air above the lungs. She's supposed to have surgery on her jaw tomorrow. How does that work for the good? All things work for the good of those called according to purpose. How does that work for good? So this pastor, Derek Thomas, says, I have no idea. Don't believe anyone who says they know why your child born dead is somehow a good. Don't stretch it. Don't try to grasp for it. Mourn with the people. But understand that all things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. I have no idea how it'll work for someone's good. And that was in talking to Frank Sillers yesterday, and I realized those of you on the phone, be patient with me. I'll get to you. But talking to Frank Sillers yesterday, his brother, Stephen Sillers, is a firefighter on 9/11. The Twin Towers have been hit by planes. People are dying. People are literally jumping from those buildings to their deaths. And he can't get through the tunnel at the Battery in Lower Manhattan. It's blocked. So he puts on his gear and runs from his car through the tunnel to the towers to help with the evacuations. And the tower collapses, and they have never found his body. All things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. How exactly did that work for the good? How? I'll tell you how. 25 years removed, thousands of families have had their mortgages paid off when they've lost a loved one in the line of duty because of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation that was set up in Steve Spiller's memory. Thousands of veterans have gotten medical care they otherwise wouldn't have gotten. Thousands of police officers and active duty military and veterans have been helped. Their families have been helped. Hundreds of homeless veterans now have homes. Thousands of families have been helped because Steve Spillers died on 9/11, and his family started a foundation that has now helped thousands and thousands of people. All things work for the good of those called according to his purpose. Sometimes you can't see it then and there. You have no idea. But all things work. And this too now, Rob, this is my point. What we're going through right now, there will be some good that comes out of it. I don't know what it's going to look like because I don't see it, because we're in a very dark place as a country. But the Bible says it, so it must be true. And I think some of the good that comes out of it is enough people now realizing that there is something profoundly wrong with the country. They're starting to realize that what can I do to be a solution to the problem? Can I get offline? Can I turn off social media? Can I go meet my neighbor? Can I be more present in my community? Can I be more present with my family? There's clearly something going on. Can I be friends to people who need friends? And that's one of the things we're finding on the left now is people are increasingly isolated, and by being isolated, they're turning towards politics, which is a drug that fuels a madness. And if all things work for the good of those called according to his purpose, maybe in this dark time we're in, it is people deciding, you know what, I'm going to try to be the light. All right. Rob, you got me on a tangent there. Let me go to Keith here. Welcome to the show, Keith. How are you?
Hey, Eric, I'm doing fine. You?
I'm doing great.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Anyways, for years I have been saying this, that the Democrats have used this anger and hatred towards Republicans to keep their base all energized up and go to the polls. And now it's at the point that they have done so well that they have lost control of it. You call it the tiger, I call it the Frankenstein. And I said, now that they have created this, they got to get it under control. And their leadership doesn't have the ability to control these people because of the anger. And the case in point I have is Charles Schumer. He's not as crazy as he's sounding. He just can't stand up to that base. He's afraid to lose in a primary to AOC. And the same thing happened on our side too. The frustration on the Republican side and the lack of standing up to Democrats is what generated Donald Trump, because people got tired of Mitt Romney letting Barack Obama walk over him in a debate. People got tired of George Bush being presidential and being quiet while people were insulting him, and he did nothing. And that's what gave us Donald Trump, is because the people on the right were so frustrated. At least we had a person that stood up for himself. And the other thing I want to say.
You go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing I want to say is you're very much right. I was so angry after the last episode of the assassination attempt on Trump. I said it's probably time we've got to give it back to the Democrats. We got to start intimidating them. And that is the wrong thing to do. I remember listening to a sermon by John MacArthur years back. We don't win this fight through a physical thing. We win it through prayer. That's all I got to say.
Man, listen, that's well said. That's a good word, Keith. And you're right. Our ways don't have to be there. We don't have to respond to the left the way the left responds to us. The left is deeply alienating towards Americans. They are deeply alienating towards the American people right now. People don't like Donald Trump and they don't like the Republicans. You might. Most people don't. But people overwhelmingly dislike the Democrats. More people hate the Democrats than Donald Trump right now. Why? Because the Democrats' ways are in violent rhetoric and opposition to immigration reform and things like that are alienating to Americans. And so you don't have to behave like the Democrats to convince people to join your side. You just got to not try to out crazy the crazy on the left. You be normal, let their crazy be crazy, and you're going to do well. Greetings, conversationalists. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very, very happy to have you on the program. Real quick, I got flooded with messages from people about that book recommendation. If you text the word engage to 33777, I'll send you the link to Strength for the Weary. It's the book by Derek Thomas. There's also on that link, John. I did the interview with John Deloney. You can text you can text engage to 33777. I'll send you the Amazon links for both. But the book that I referenced by my friend and pastor Derek Thomas about Job, it's a great book. I have given it to many friends going through hard times. It's called Strength for the Weary. It's the name of it, Strength for the Weary by Derek Thomas. And if you text engage to 33777, I'll send you the link to Amazon so you can order it. It is, if you're going through hard times or you know someone who is, it is not a long book. I have given that book to friends who have lost kids, who have battling cancer or other illness. I've given it to friends who are struggling to find jobs, and it has been an encouragement to not all of them, but almost every one of them. It's a good book. It really is. It ministers to you. So, yes, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777. Derek Thomas, by the way, he's probably one of the authorities on the book of Job, is asked to preach on it all over the country. It's just phenomenal pastor. Now, let me tell you about Vision Computers. They are a great company, a phenomenal company themselves. 404 Computers, the number, or visioncomputers.com. I get asked this question, and I say it all the time, but let me just reemphasize that if you're in Anchorage, Alaska, if you're listening on our affiliate in Anchorage, Alaska, yes, boys and girls, I have an affiliate in Anchorage, Alaska. They'll help you. If you're in Hartford, Connecticut, they'll help you. You can get them to build you a computer. They'll send it to you. They can be your managed IT support. And it doesn't matter if you're in Franklin, Tennessee, or you're in Miami, Florida, or you're in Kalispell, Montana. You can get Vision Computers tech support. They can even remote into your computer to help you. They can do email support, printer support. They can do it for you and your home computer, your kid's computer. They can even build you a laptop. You don't have to have a computer built from them, though, for their managed IT. If your business needs a managed IT service and you can't afford an in-house guy, let me recommend Vision, because they're going to let you use real people, not AI chatbots. VisionComputers.com, 404 Compute. They've got a good fit for you, personally, for your kid, for your senior citizen parent, and for your company. 404 Compute or VisionComputers.com.